what I wanted to take a look at is actually one of the things that I complain about all of the time, which is the scale and challenge of logistics, right? So to do that, actually, what I wanted to do, I found a video of that I think is great for this. It's how to feed 6,000 Mongolian miners every day. Now, the reason I like this, and I've seen, I think, part of it, is because I want you to think about, these miners, their caloric expenditure, their workload, the demands on their body, and the demands on their time are a lot like a military soldier in a combat operation, right? Obviously, there's no casualties. I mean, hopefully, but there is a sense that the average person needs probably 2,500 to 3,000 calories to operate every day and maintain their body mass. It needs to be healthy, and you can't waste their time. They can't spend hours and hours doing it. So let's see how this, I think it's actually Mongolian miners, Mongolia's biggest kitchen in the Gobi. I strongly suspect that this is probably a Chinese operation and just bankroll, and there's in Mongolia, but let's see. Let's take a look at this, and I'll break down sort of how we can think about the scale of these problems when it comes to the military. Okay, interesting. It almost looks Russian. Okay, so that cafeteria there, those couple of shots, what you have, I want you guys to see, this actually looks a lot like probably the nicest forward operating bases in the US. We'll wait until there's another shot here. Food views. Oh yeah, let's get a link to this real quick. It did look Cyrillic, so maybe it's not Chinese. Maybe it's actually a Russian company doing this mining. Anyway, guys, there's the link. But you notice the op tempo here? Yeah, this would look so familiar to a U.S. service member deployed in Afghanistan. Now, usually this would be this sort of setup with a food line and professional staff. This would be at an established FOB. So we would see it at FOBs like Fenty in Jalalabad City. We'd see it in, obviously, Afghanistan. There were several defects, dining facilities like this. This level of quality, though, is pretty par for the course. Yep, and look, what's fascinating is this is almost in a way even set up like a forward operating base. You can see there's separate secured compounds. A large forward operating base would actually have, usually in the center or off to one side, a secure airfield or airstrip. And these fences would actually be HESCO barriers. They would be, 6 to 12 feet tall, topped with razor wire. But other than that, having a power generation station, looks like what this is. Usually they wouldn't have their own power plant. They would just have generators. But you would definitely have usually Connex style buildings, housing tents for troops. These would be the offices and warehouses and depots. You'd have more like maintenance facilities. This looks just so similar. And the reason is because, of course, there's only so many ways to solve these sort of problems. And mining operations, they aren't terribly different from at least military operations in the US. Heavy vehicles, personnel intensive. You have to feed, house, treat, and allow for sleeping of a bunch of people, and you have to keep a bunch of equipment running all the time. And so incidental to, and in a very, very remote area. And so you're going to solve that problem just the way they have. World's largest new copper gold mines in the southern Gobi in Mongolia. 80 kilometers north of the Mongolia-China border. Makes it even more interesting to see the Cyrillic. Yep, even these buses, there was often on larger bases, people who deployed there was a lot of shift workers actually, whose entire deployment for 12 months was waking up in one of those tents, walking to a bus station, taking a bus that would take them all the way across the forward operating base to a tactical operations center or some sort of logistics cell or some sort of office, basically, where they would work on targeting or logistics planning or scheduling flights or you know, medevacing troops or coordinating medevacs or whatever it was. And then at the end of their 12-hour shift, they would catch the bus, go to the gym, and then catch the bus right back to their house. And that would be their deployment for 12 months. Yeah, and just imagine all these guys in ACUs or OCP uniforms carrying either pistols or M4s, just sort of slung across their back. And ironically enough, the cooks the food service workers would at larger FOBs actually be contracted. They'd be like Nuristan or Kazakhstanis or Filipino or, I mean, take your pick of U.S. government contractors. Smaller forward operating bases obviously wouldn't have kitchens like this, and they'd be more likely to have U.S. military staff as the people providing the food. Ouch, Telruin. I am indeed watching the chat. I gotta say, you know, we have a section of the Discord for video suggestions. Okay, I don't know. Artger. I sort of think this is, oh, been making Mongolian traditional milk tea. Right. So this is the one thing that I will say is that you got to make food, and this is true all the time, that feels familiar to soldiers. You don't want to give soldiers food that they don't know how to eat it, that isn't appealing to them, that doesn't taste good. And so you would see a lot of foods that felt sort of familiar. One of my personal favorites, man, was breakfast corn dogs. They would be a sausage wrapped in like sweet cornmeal and fried, and they'd be like just frozen and reheated. But man, were they good, and they were a treat. So I assume this would be very familiar to a Mongolian. Yeah, this doesn't. This almost looks like a stew. Almost looks like a curry, or like a like a Thai curry. This is very soothing music, by the way. Okay, the Mazalai restaurant in DFAC prepare 1,500 dishes in 30 minutes. Usually serves 10,000 dishes a day, which is actually on the low side for 6,000 miners. So 6,000 miners twice a day, you're looking at, well, 10,000. Probably there's a midday break on the mines where they eat pre-prepared food. Especially busy days can serve 6,000 dishes at one time and 20,000 throughout the day. I wonder what causes the up and down, you know? So again, I want you guys to think, this is 6,000 miners, right? So 6,000 miners, so not even a brigade, right? So multiply this by 30, right? For example, 100,000 Russian troops invading. Yeah, this is just like, so the reason I'm doing this, if you've just joined us, the reason I've selected this video is because it really lets you see up close and personal what it takes to feed just 6,000 people doing a high octane job in a really austere environment, right? Like this empty mine. So this is just helping us understand that when we talk about, oh, the Russians, how do they not have their logistics right? Just how hard it is to solve this problem. Interesting, breaking up the yolks. I mean, just the speed is impressive, but oh, okay, there we go. Daily consumption. This is great. 12,000 eggs, 5.5 tons of meat a day, 4 tons of vegetables, 1.2 tons of flour, 1.5 tons of rice, 350 liters of oil. It's probably just cooking oil. 400 liters of milk and 1.8 tons of fruit. So if you want to feed not an army, 6,000 people, 6,000 people, right? You need, well, we're looking at probably 10 tons of food, and it's perishable, mind you. So you can't just send it, dump it, and go, right? So this is just to help you guys understand what it is that it takes to feed an army. Exactly, Icarus. An army marches on its stomach. And the reason they say that is because literally, if you don't feed them a sufficient number of calories, just like a horse, just like a car, if you don't give it the energy inputs it needs, it won't march. You will watch your daily combat effectiveness attrit ever downward. They'll be less focused. They'll make worse mistakes. I think that's probably a big part of what's happening to Russian troops now is, I mean, imagine when's the last time you've gone a full, let's say 36 hours and truly eaten nothing? Not like only had snacks, but truly didn't have food, right? That's a routine occurrence. And if you've done it, you know that by about that 24th hour, you are distracted by your hunger. You may start to lose focus on tasks at hand. Your attention span will start to diminish. But you see what it takes to feed people. If you ever read any accounts of World War II, you can hear sort of the struggles in outfitting armies of that era. And what you would often hear about is that they would have mobile kitchens to bake the bread fresh because it was so hard to get it to leaven and bake in ovens while the army was on the march. Similarly, they would have live cattle that would follow the army or would go in cattle trains as part of the logistics with the expectation that the cattle would be slaughtered in order to feed the army. Oh, yeah. Not pictured, the teleporter. Cheese and onion sandwiches, baby. Right, you got to think to yourself, this is one of those meals. Let's get this bread indeed. There is no protein in sight here, right? Just carbs, some onion, and just pure fat from that cheese. No, this is what we're talking about. You guys see that these guys have an intense operation here to do, right, quick to make, quick to eat. These are probably like lunches, honestly, that'll go out. Oh yeah, the eggs for sure. I think we're just getting like B-roll cut together. Okay, that makes it look more appealing. It makes it look more like just a good grilled cheese. Okay, so this looks like maybe pre-frozen dough. Just remember, making Bortsag, a common deep-fried pastry. Right, grilled cheese for lunch with some vegetables, that's fine. But remember, think about the caloric needs. Let's be generous and say 2,500 calories a day. That means each meal, right, to sustain your body weight, to sustain operations, not be losing weight, has got to be, what's that, 800 calories a meal at least. So that cheese, let's see, 2 slices of bread puts you at about 300. Sorry, this is a skill you evolve when you are an MMA fighter cutting weight, is you start to intuit the calories of everything. So, okay, 2 slices of bread, you're looking at maybe 200 to 300, we'll say 250. A slice of each of those cheeses, actually 45. American cheese is not very caloric, so you're looking at another 90. And then some, let's say the onions are super greasy somehow, super full of oil. And so then we'll give it another 180, putting us at what, maybe a 600 calorie sandwich, something like that. So yeah, so it's a little low. And Death Strikers, yeah, 2,500 is definitely on the low end for a mining job. You will probably, like, I suspect, depending on your role, probably come closer to like 3,000. Sarwolf, they might be drinking water. They may be drinking that milk tea, another source of calories for them. I know that's how the U.S. Army solves a lot of militaries solve caloric gaps in their field rations is by including beverages. Hey, thanks, Aldarin, for this gifted subs. Appreciate it. There you go. Look at that deep frying technique. Okay, these are looking pretty good, actually. No, it's a deep fried pastry, like a traditional Mongolian deep fried bread. Exactly. Steeping, you see that steeping things in fat like this to give them those calories is just an easy workaround to hit it, to hit those caloric targets. Oh yeah, boba tea. Gotta love boba tea. Right, exactly. Fried food. Lambda, it's making me hungry. I know. This is why I'm drinking coffee. Coffee is an appetite suppressant. Right. Yeah, fundamentally things, bubble tea, but boba tea sometimes. Yeah, all of this looks really tasty. Oh, you can see these are lunches. Oh, okay. And so they get them to 800 by including the fried dough. That makes perfect sense. Whew, that is real close to that woman's fingers. I wonder if those are cut proof. I kind of feel like probably not. The kiwi detected. Yeah, I know. I love kiwi. Like a lot. I mean, it's a testament to just how wild the world is that even in a remote mine in the Gobi Desert, you still could score some kiwi. What looks like, what is this, guys? Somebody help me out, right? Kiwi, watermelon, and apples. But again, it's like you guys got to think that, like, imagine 6 months. You can't go 6 months without a vegetable or a fruit. You have to get some fresh fruit and vegetables. I know in Afghanistan, they imported ours from Dubai and the UAE. And so we would end up with some things that, like chicken would be kind of hard to get, but we could get Cornish game hens. It is a lot of water weight, but I think it's probably delivered via truck. It doesn't have to be flown in. But you got to think, refrigerated trucks, you burn a lot of fuel. All right, here you guys getting ready for breakfast. The gender ratio also looks almost exactly right to a fob in Afghanistan. Okay, it has, yep, all right, 7,000 square meters. That's larger than, maybe that's the biggest, as large as like the largest Afghan fob, but maybe not. But certainly in the Gobi Desert, space is not that hard to come by. Divided into serving, dining, and food processing. This makes perfect sense. This is like every kitchen. The dining area alone covers 5,000 square meters. So maybe. Yeah, and because they don't need to secure it, right? It's not a secure location like a forward operating base. They can space things out a little bit more. Though again, the further you stretch it out, the harder it is to just get around and stretch out your electrical lines and utility lines. Ooh, smarter every day on a U.S. nuclear sub. Yeah, that does sound like a good one. Yep, like we talked about, a great way to supplement is, of course, supplement calories is through sugary electrolyte drinks. Also helps you when you're sweating. But you can see what we're looking at here. We're looking at some sort of stewed meat dish. Looks like some rice, right? And this looks like a hearty. This is probably 800 to maybe 1,000 calories, depending on exactly what's in that sauce. Ooh, my favorite MRE. I'm partial to the what was it? The spicy penne pasta, right? They've discontinued it, but it had this really, it was, first off, it was really tasty. It was vegetarian, but it was like, it doesn't matter to me because I was like, all the meat is so processed, it might as well be fake. So I just appreciated that it owned what it was. And it also had like spicy apple cider that was so good you could just drink the beverage, like lick the beverage powder like it was candy. I mean, this is actually fascinating for a bunch of reasons. Just to see like how much is in English as like a lingua franca. Delius, first off, it was really tasty. That does explain why they discontinued it. They can't have soldiers enjoying their MREs. Oh, I bet they're using the paper plates because of COVID. Yeah, I bet there's a lot of additional COVID protocols. Air sources of footage of a bunch of army cooks prepping in Afghanistan. That would also be interesting. But there were like so many different defects working in Afghanistan that like you almost couldn't appreciate the scale of sustaining those 100,000 troops plus, you know, whatever it was, 50,000 contractors at the peak of the war. But yeah, you can see they have their primary meal and then they're able to supplement. And this is another classic move from Afghanistan, where you could allow people to supplement with extremely easy or low prep items. In this case, it looks like maybe prepackaged desserts, pre-made rolls. We would often do the Mrs. Fields or Otis something brand cookies, like shelf stable cookies in a package, anything that you could just grab and go. Yeah, but you see, this is probably about the 1,200 calories these folks are going to need for a breakfast. Because remember, even if you're just like chilling in the mine, if it is really cold or really hot, your body burns a lot of calories just to maintain homeostasis, right? That's why cold weather meals, cold weather MREs, oftentimes will double the calories or more, just because that's how much more your body needs just to maintain your body temperature in these extreme environments. Yeah, 1,500 may be right, Death Strikes. It may be, if you got everything, you may be around 1,500. Oh, COVID protocols. God, they really thought this was helping. They're like, oh, COVID could come in on the outside. Oh, interesting. I guess they probably, so if you guys have worked in logistics, you know that those seals are meant to ensure that, certify that the trucks have not been tampered with. So an inspector at the food station or at the origin point is going to verify that the load has enough stuff in it, but it's also, they want to make sure that there's no chance that any contaminants have entered the vehicle. So they put on a seal that is designed to be pretty easy to break. So if the truck is broken into, that seal will be, unsealed. But yeah, this is a complete, ooh, seven up. Yeah, carbonated sodas, man. I get it. I get the big calorie hit that you need. And this is definitely, again, 6,000 people. We're talking pallets and pallets of this stuff a day. Right, you see anything like this. Look at all that rice, right? And again, this is probably a day or two's worth of rice, but you have all this stuff here that's just non-perishable. And it's such a logistics save because it's so expensive to, also, does this dude have a black eye? No, it's just the lighting. Okay. I thought maybe his kitchen staff was making sure he wasn't stealing anything. No, Pokey asks, is frying the most effective way to add on calories onto foods? And I would say that answer is probably no. Oil is definitely one of the most calorie dense substances, but it can actually be hard to get it in, and frying is like a long process. Right, Tai Chi, I think Tai Chi is onto something. Adding sugar or adding a sauce to it, like an oily or sugary sauce, is probably the way to go. Yeah, you saw very briefly they shot at everything that was here. This is probably like, what he's delivering is probably like an additional amount or that they think they're going to need. That's probably an illustration of what they actually need in a typical day. Right, something else, remember, highly perishable meat. Interesting. All right, they're marinating it. This is intensive. Gone are the days of salt pork. Only sort of. You can still get beef jerky and MREs, and that is definitely salt pork's close cousin. But you can see that looks like it's been fairly recently slaughtered, and it's definitely wholesale. Yeah, you're right. And that's the other thing we think about is efficient cooking. Cooking efficiently is hard to do, and that's why hot water baths, steaming, sous videing, whatever you want to call it, is a really, really efficient way of cooking. Same with you saw on the griddle. Just dump everything onto the griddle and go. Yep, sous videing these gigantic chunks of meat. Interesting. Yep, this is actually how a lot of U.S. Army UGRAs are prepped. They have whole bags of basically a 30 plus servings of food, and it's in bags that are stable enough that you can just dump the bag into boiling water and it will heat up evenly, and then you just tear open the bag and can serve right out of it. Because remember, there's all this, but then there's also the hygiene protocols that are required as part of it as well. So you have these hygiene protocols that say, hey, you've got to clean every so often, right? You have to cook the meat and verify that it gets to a certain temperature, right? There's a lot of food safety into these things because, again, if you have one bad batch of meat or one mistake, you put your entire mining operation out of commission. Same with the military, right? You can't afford to have an entire meal be contaminated because then literally your entire company, your entire battalion might be sick. So you see, yep, these are not great cuts of meat, but it's just you can't bother to just select just the steaks, you know? Yeah, there you go. See what we talked about, right? This guy wasn't, that one bag of rice was like a supplement. This is probably how much they're going to be cooking. Looks like it's already been cubed and is probably frozen. Looks like pork, yeah. Lamb short ribs, okay. Interesting, yeah. Yeah, this is a great way to solve these sort of problems, is just heat them up, bring them to a boil, and just let them sit. Also, what's interesting is often the broths can be reused. I have no idea what this is. Yeah, it is a collagen-rich broth. You're right. I mean, I think you're absolutely right about the meat being really fresh. You notice almost nothing is being prepared with precision, right? The industrial cabbage shredder. Yeah, this is the sort of scale. And remember, imagine being an army. Imagine having to do 30 times, right? Exactly, Tindy, exactly. In these amounts processed, precision would be a waste, he says. And he's absolutely correct, right? It's like the time of your cooks is so valuable because there's always going to be another meal coming. Right, you see, this is just bulk sauteing. I'm curious how they get it out. Okay, that's really interesting. Watch them saute the cabbage. You're like, Paul, I came here for military. I know, right? 5 stars. It was food. Oh, and then they mix it all in with the chicken? Oh, interesting. Oh, that's sweet. They sprinkle some sesame seeds. Okay, now I'm actually starting to get a little envious here. Yeah, this stuff is looking good. Okay, I kind of want to see the end state of this, but then I want to take a look at the UGRAs, the military rations. I know, these guys are like kind of killing it. Yeah, they're marinating their pork. Okay. Okay, wow, they're breading it. This is actually closer to a restaurant, I suspect. Yeah, the US military would never bother doing this. Even this is too intensive. Buy frozen stuff that's done in a factory where it's all automated. But as you pointed out, well, my chickens are running to something. Very excited. Probably my wife. They probably found that there's food. It doesn't have to be better than military food, but it looks like it might be. I just want to see the end state of some of this. Oh, you're right. They probably just lift it and bring it out the giant funnel in the pans. Yeah, so they're probably, I imagine they're probably doing pre-made dough, but maybe they just have bulk flour and they do a, you know, just continual leavening process, right? They have rooms with just hundreds of pounds of dough in them rising. But you guys probably also see the power of standardization. How stressful would it be working in such a big workplace? I mean, I don't know if I would say that it's like inherently stressful. It's probably stressful to be in the kitchen. That's just a nice extra touch. But yeah, you'd see those rolls in ooh, cake. Oh my God, look at all that cake. So fun fact, if you've ever done a combat sport that has weight classes and you have had to cut weight, one of the things you do to sort of cope with being really, really frighteningly hungry is watch food videos. It's like sort of like torturing yourself, but yeah. This is smart. You see how they've got the sweet cake and it looks like they're already glazing it with even more maybe butter. Yeah, again, sweet desserts are an easy way to supplement calories. This is vastly better than most school lunches. What? Okay, guys. Okay. No. We're gonna take a look at some. Okay, this is done for being done for the cameras. I'm almost certain of it. This is bananas. Whose birthday is it? October. Oh, maybe it's like happy October birthdays. Okay, now they're just trolling us. This is just a troll. That's all this is. Okay, so I know I was like bringing you guys this video to be like, let me show you how hard it is to feed people. And now they're like, let's make a cake for everyone whose birthday is in October. Oh man, this is just looking at Suvian, Mongolian fried noodles. Ooh. I need to get myself some Suivan. Wait, his name is Babu. I love it. I love it. Yeah, there's no way this is a regular occurrence. This has got to be like first of the month or like, yeah, some sort of holiday. Yeah, first of the last. Maybe payday. Yeah, I mean, it does remind me a little bit. I was reading that I guess in China, TikTok is much more tightly controlled, especially what children are allowed to see. And TikTok, China will have lots and lots of videos praising hard workers, cool industrial things, things to get children excited about having good careers and fun industries they can work in, and get them hype about stuff. In the U.S., of course, they teach children how silly dances and how to fake anxiety disorders for likes and play pranks. Oh, 2 green cards and a yellow. Oh. Oh, okay. So interesting. This is something that on the civilian side, the U.S. Army went over to. They called it green, red, yellow to help. To help them make, quote, healthy choices, unquote. And there was green for the healthiest choice, yellow for not so healthy, and then red for least healthy choices. Red was reserved for things like French toast with syrup. Oh my god, man. Or it has white flour in it. Yeah, I sort of reject some of this stuff, some of these like red, yellow, green mentalities. It's like, listen, whether you're eating 1,200 calories a day or 2,000 or 2,500, you need carbs, fat, and a protein. Some, unless you're in ketosis, and that's sort of its own animal. But like, and you should absolutely get fresh fruit, fruits and vegetables, and vitamins and minerals, and like a diversity of food in your diet. But to sit there and say like red, yellow, green, I think is too reductive for most people. Sauces have various ingredients, so it's red. Potato. Like potato is a yellow. Is potato intrinsically unhealthy? No, you could be a reasonable weight. You could even be on a diet and have potato. Just like you can be on a diet and have vegetable. Okay, so one of the things that you'll sometimes see when people want to be like insulting to military police, they will say military police would check IDs in the DFAC. And it's true. You would have an armed soldier who would check IDs in the dining facilities and other secure locations, just as to prevent people from sneaking in, or really to stop people who had like fake IDs from entering and like attacking the people in there, because it was a big concentration of U.S. troops who were, not looking for threats. They were eating. And so there would be usually, not usually, I'd say very few of the bases I went to, but sometimes you would see military police soldiers with that duty. And so the thing is, in the military police world, if you got that duty, it was punishment. It meant your entire unit was seen as a little bit less than, little bit like you don't need to be on the front. You don't need to be on the front lines, buddy. Like, I know just the role for you, right? And that was also the role that was most likely to face any other soldier. And so you doubly hated them for that reason. Like, you really just hated the fact, like, basically working with other like infantry or Cav scouts or whoever else was stationed at these FOBs, having to work on those FOBs was like punishment in the MP world. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think like that's all MPs did. And they're like, MPs are just fat, lazy pieces of shit checking IDs. And we're like, no. The fat, lazy pieces of shit were the MPs we made check ID.
Маталын зоогийн газар маань нэг удаадаа 1500 хүний хүчин чадалтай бөгөөд 24 цагийн турш 3 ээжээр оюутлын төсвийн талбайд ирэх.
3 shifts, 24 hours, Mongolian, European, and various dishes for the miners. Okay, so there you go. So that's probably why it's in different languages, probably because there is a multicultural staff.
Hi, I'm Devendra Shrestha, working here since 2013 in Oitolga projects. It's been a great honor to work in such incredible projects. Our main goal and objective is to make sure we feed all miners healthy and good food and make them feel like a home. We have over 30 to 40 nations, peoples working down in Oitolga sites. So we introduce different food.
Oh, nations, different nations, not Masons. So we introduced different foods such as Mongolian, Mexican.
Such as theme night, Mongolians, Mexicans, Americans, Philippines.
They have theme nights. That's also not uncommon, just to mix it up.
We try our best to make sure we satisfy our miners. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's just give a shout out to this dude. Imagine that you're a kitchen worker in Mongolia, and then someone brings in an HD camera and is like, we're filming a documentary, and we want you to speak in English to the camera, a language that you probably don't use like ever. That sounds so nerve-wracking. Support Services Mongolia, main course. Interesting. I'm just fascinated that so much is in English. Yeah, spaghetti and a beef stew. Yeah, it's looking pretty healthy. Rice, potato, beef. That dude's like my dad. He has no food variety in his soul. Yep, that gigantic line. Yeah, that's pretty typical of a FOB as well. The dessert line, yeah, buddy. Alright, I feel like this has been pretty good.
I killed, I don't know what to fear for champions.